Good afternoon, Kath. How are you?
Oh, really well, thanks. Good afternoon to you, Tom.
I'd have to say I love that log fire in the background. So I could imagine myself sitting around there, warming myself up, trying to break my diet with some marshmallows.
Sounds like a plan. I might do that afterwards, yeah.
So, listen, thank you very much for your time in advance for today. I'm excited to learn a bit about you and your story and what interests you. We haven't met before, so this is quite common in some of these conversations. We do this for the first time here, and I was actually asked my why on the last one that I did and why I'm doing this, and obviously there's commercial reasons and that as well. But what I figured is I'm having loads of these conversations every day anyway, okay, and I'm privy to all these things that I don't know what I don't know. And I think it's just nice to have it recorded and share it for other people so that people can learn my lessons. They can reach out if they want to. They can take inspiration from people's stories as well. And on that, for that reason, I'm very excited to hear all about you, Kath.
Okay, thank you. I'm delighted to be here. I hope that I can share some interesting stuff for your audience.
Fantastic. So please tell us, a little bit about yourself, what you're happy to share initially.
Okay, so I'm a book coach, yeah. So I'm a former business journalist. I work with Fairfax in Australia. It's now Channel 9. So I help people write books, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a specific niche, I guess. So I help coaches, trainers, consultants to write books about the area of expertise that they work in. So that might be sales, it might be leadership, it might be communication. So we tend to work very much on the area in which they are an expert, and I help them to craft their ideas into a 25,000 to 45,000 word book.
Okay, all right. And so I love this, so I know where I'm going with this straight away. So we picked a gem here, which I'm excited about. When did you start doing this?
About 10 years ago. So I had spent a long time in journalism, I think about 14 years. And it kind of came to an abrupt end. And I had a sort of an identity crisis, to be honest, Tom. I'm like, what am I if I'm not a journalist? It was something I really loved doing. And I started to explore the field of content marketing, I guess, of using content as a marketing tool, something that I felt was kind of, it had always had parallels in journalism. Not the same, but some parallels. And gradually, as I explored that, I sort of arrived, really, people started asking me. They said, hey, you're a journalist. Can you help me write a book? I'm like, sure. I started really working on a methodology, like just developing a system based on my background as a journalist to how to get ideas out of your head and onto the page.
Okay, I love that. Back in my day, back in UK, obviously my accent's there. I did an advertising role for the Daily Mail. So I worked the Northcliffe Group, I think they were called. Yep. And I really enjoyed it. So I got to know a load of the journalists there, and they told me their little hacks and their little tricks, and they befriended me, what have you. And there's an art form to journalism, for sure. For me, correct me if I'm wrong, it's very different to writing a book, though.
It is different in some ways. Like basically a book is a very long form, 25,000 to 45,000 words is a lot. And, typically a journalist might write anything from like 300 words to maybe 2,500 or something if they were doing a big feature. So that said, there's sort of a lot of similar or principles in common. So you need to be clear about what you're writing about. You need to be clear about the message that you're writing. You need to bring in reasons for the reader to read what you're writing about. And you also need to provide examples and stories and things to engage people in what you're writing about. So there were some really common threads that I could see from journalism that applied in the book writing process. And so it was really a matter of me then thinking those through and thinking, well, how do we get to a longer form?
Okay, all right. So the commonality there, and something that's quite topical in the business consulting world as well, is the art of storytelling. So
Yeah.
it's getting that hook in, grabbing their interest, getting them hungry for some more,
Yeah.
and taking them on a journey and wrapping it up nicely.
Yeah.
You know, so it sounds like this is something that you probably got down to an art form.
I hope so. I've done 64 books. So, I have 64 books on my shelves of clients who've used my system to get that book out of their brain and onto the page, and to really, there's that first draft and then there's the polishing step. So, yeah, I'm quite a systematic person. I kind of have a process, but I was never really conscious of that process when I was a journalist. I had to become conscious of it to help other people to achieve their dreams.
So it's a bit like when you're an subject matter expert, and you learn them from teaching.
Yes,
you get that, and you don't realise what you do know until you have to explain it to others. So these 64 books, that's some accomplishment for what you're doing for business. Have you published yourself?
Yes, I have. Am I allowed to pick up and show my book?
Go for it. I'll swap with you. Go on, you do yours, I'll do mine.
Okay.
Oh, I like that. Overnight author.
Overnight authority. It's how to win respect, command attention, and earn more money by writing a book in 90 days.
In 90 days. Love it.
Yes, brain to book in 90 days.
There we are. There's my one. Hope you like this. That's it.
How the Wakes and Drop. Unconscious influence. How our hidden mind shapes our lives. I love it. Great topic.
There we are. So that's snap.
How long did it take you to write that one, Tom?
It took me a little while, but I've been writing another book like forever.
Yeah.
As you probably heard many times over. But the other one's quite comprehensive, quite detailed. This is almost feels like it's a chapter from it. Yeah. And I just gave it a go to see if I could do this, you know. So I don't know if you found this with the authors, they're overly critical of their own work.
Yeah, self-doubt.
I hate the book.
Yes, that can happen. And yeah, I think because you're an expert in your area, you're always kind of moving on, right? We always sort of, and a book captures where you are at a particular point in time. The way that I try to sort of influence my clients to sort of stand behind their books is that book can help somebody at a point in time that you were once at. So you once needed to know that knowledge, and there are a whole bunch of people out there who now, right at this moment, need to know that knowledge. And even though your interests have moved on, and you can see the flaws, like I can see the flaws, I can, but it's still really helpful for you to get that book in front of people and give them the opportunity to start, moving towards your level.
It's quite interesting. So you picked on the why there, and someone asked me, a publisher asked me about the book that I was writing, I am writing, still writing, and will write. I'd imagine it's halfway done if I'm going to have a stab guesstimate. But my why, when I was asked that, it was for legacy.
Yeah.
Okay, which is exactly the point. So I can envision that my son and his kids and their kids in the future can pick it up and they can step into my world there. But then the people that you're never going to meet that pick it up randomly, bookshop, wherever it may be in the world, and it resonates with them and they're at that point. And exactly to your point, it's there's an element of hindsight is able to help people from the trials and tribulations of my own life.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I think writing a book is a very generous act. There's really no way that, you could ever charge the price that, be like, oh, here's my book, it's $10,000. So it's a very generous act. And I think staying focused on that gift to the reader is how we stand behind our books and keep sharing them, even if we ourselves have evolved our thinking somewhat since we wrote the book.
You know what? That's a cracking mindset as well. And I'm putting myself in those shoes now because when I look at there's a motivation to get back into it. Let's do another chapter, etc., and to think of it the way that you just said there is actually quite motivating to go and do it again.
Yeah, I hope so, because in fact, self-doubt's what stands between people. It's the biggest reason why people don't publish their books. So people may write their books and not. I've worked with an author who had a contract for 15 years and never delivered the book until we kind of got together and worked together, and he got to finish it. And so there is a sort of that self-doubt is what stands between people and writing and finishing their books. It's not the reason they can't start, it's the reason why they can't finish.
Yes. And I think that's what the difference is, that, you know, because it's a big commitment, and that's where the generosity is, you know. So people can be well intentioned and be all excited, a bit like anything. You know, I've got an idea, we're going to do this, do that. If it doesn't come to fruition, you don't deliver on that, then it remains an idea.
It does. And look, as wonderful as ideas are, they don't really help your readers. So if you're writing a book for a particular audience, someone who needs some knowledge that you have, as long as it's in your head or even in your desk drawer, it's not helping anyone. It has to help those people that you've written it for, is to get out there and get to the people who you can help. I think that's so wonderful. I think that's cool, really cool.
Okay, all right. And what about trends? Because obviously we live in a digital world now that's accelerating. I know AI has a lot, especially generative AI has a lot to be said for at the moment, and people are equally optimistic, enthusiastic, and concerned what the future lays there. We're talking a lot about print media here. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you seeing? It's probably a bit of a loaded question. My apologies, but is there a rise in people looking to publish and want to publish and revisit print media, or we're moving the other way?
I'm a big fan of the printed book. It has what I call thud factor. It sort of lands on your desk, lands on the presentation, in the boardroom, with a thud. It's kind of got weight and heft, and I think it's valued in a different way to an ebook. In terms of AI, it's a really interesting topic, Tom, because I think, it's an incredible tool. What it's not yet good at is actually writing. So I think there's a real problem with people who use their generative AI to write book type of topics, because I find that the quality of the writing's not high enough standard yet. I mean, I bet it's going to get there. What it's good for is often interrogating our own writing. So sometimes I put something in ChatGPT and say, hey, what's the good about these 3 paragraphs? What do you think the strengths of what I've written? What do you think of the weaknesses of what I've written here? And I find that a really useful way to use that tool, and then to come back and continue writing with my own words, my own voice, and take it on advisement really from it's also good for exploring your reader. I think only the author really knows their reader, but generative AI can give you a perspective on what everyone else might think about your reader.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So what we're saying there, it's not the replacement; it's a complementing tool to really refine maybe some of our rougher ashlar components of what we're trying to do.
Because if you think, if the purpose of your book is to stand out and become an authority, in a way, you need to see AI as the standard you have to beat. Because you're not going to stand out if you're at the same level as everybody else. That's just, it's a no-brainer, really. So we've got to think, okay, whatever AI comes up with, I know that I can't be there. I have to be above that to stand out. So that's the sort of simple lesson, I guess.
I like that. So it's like the minimum standard, almost like the pace setter in some respects. So, okay, so I need to pass that test, and then it's going to have my quirks, my personality, my wow factor. Yeah. Can I just say as well, I loved your thud factor. Is that something you use a lot?
I do talk a bit about thud factor. Yeah, the sort of the weight and the heft of actually putting your book on the table. Yeah, it's a nice term, isn't it? Yeah.
I reckon lawyers must like that as well. Have a thud factor. There we are. Down to you to reply. No, I love that. Okay, so the people that come in and engage with you Okay. Are they first-time authors, serial authors? Do they know you already? What's that ecosystem like?
Yeah. A lot of my clients are first-time authors, and they may be people who, for whom writing isn't quite their forte. For example, they might be speakers, they could be coaches. They don't necessarily, their expertise they don't express usually through the mode of authoring or writing. So yeah, and also because of the scale of the project of writing a book, they're not sure how to sort of really execute that. And they also just don't know, what happens then? Like, where does it go? Well, how do we kind of get it published and out into the market? So often their first time. That said, I've worked with a number of authors who've written a second book in my program. So that's cool too, because it's lovely coming back to people. Where do they come from? Yeah, so they do. I am a pretty big fan of social media. I do a lot of posting on social media, and I give a lot of advice and tips out. And in that process, I also invite connections. I invite people to engage with me. I probably don't know most people when I first start working with them, unless they've come through a referral. I might know someone they know. So yeah, we're often sort of starting right from scratch, and it's a big trust process, like to engage somebody to work with you. And it's kind of quite an intimate sort of level. It takes a bit of trust building, and that's part of what I really love about it.
Okay, all right. So moving to keeping forward thinking and sticking with trends and technology. Okay, yay or nay to audiobooks?
What do you mean? Yay or nay?
Are you a fan of the audiobooks?
Audiobooks. Oh, I love it. I love audiobooks. I was a bit of an early adopter, I have to say. So I've had, I think I've got 500 audiobooks. I tend to listen mainly to fiction on audiobooks, but I do listen to business books. So my area is really business books. So I listen to business books on audio, and I love it. I think it's fantastic. It's super easy. It helps us to, we can get on the push bike at the gym, listen to an audiobook as we go. Also, it's lovely to hear the voice in business books. I think it's really nice to hear the voice of the author. With fiction, I think, unless you're very good, it's better to get an actor to do it. But with business books, I think it's a nice way to kind of do the know, like, and trust bit that books offer.
Okay, but the only downside to this then for yourself is you're clearly missing your favourite term, the FUD factor.
Yeah, that is true. You don't get. That's why I always say you got to have the FUD factor as well. I love sending people an actual copy of my book. Almost everyone that I speak to who's willing to spend some time with me, I will post them a gift copy of my book. I think it's a really nice exchange. But of course, it does also show them what I do and how I do it. So it has multiple sort of levels. But I love the reciprocity of it.
Yeah, it's probably nice to receive that in the post rather than our gas and electric bill.
Absolutely.
Mind you probably don't get those at the moment with that heater.
No, that's right. That's why we've got the fire going. Yeah.
Okay, all right. And what's the future holding for you? You've got the recipe right and you're going to maintain what you're doing, or have you got anything exciting coming up?
Well, we've always got to evolve, Tom. I think we've always got to evolve. I have introduced sort of mastering AI techniques into my program so that people use the AI in the correct way. And that they use it intelligently, they use it ethically, and they use it creatively. Yeah. I also have recently established a community that I call Author to Authority. So when people have written their books, we then get together and we all build buzz around our books. So build buzz and business, really. So we're really looking that in that membership. It's a fortnightly sort of group conversation around strategies to actually get your book out into the market, because believe me, it doesn't matter what, bestsellers don't just happen, even for Tom Robbins, even for all of those, amazingly big authors, Tim Ferriss, and, that there's a big marketing machine behind them. And so we need to stand behind our books and get them out there, and authors are great at helping each other to do that. So, I lead that community too.
Love it. Okay, I love where it's going. Okay, all right, so someone's listening to this. They've been inspired by your story and conversation, and they're looking, you maybe put the light bulb on and they're thinking perhaps this might be something for them. What would you say the first step to be, whether they decide to make that commitment or not?
Yeah. So I have a little quiz called Does Your Book Idea Have Legs? And I would love to share that link with you and your audience. And people can simply go along, answer this little mini diagnostic, and it helps to, sort of give people a feel for whether they've got a book that has legs, whether it has commercial potential, whether it sort of has, it's a solid idea. And so I'd love to share that with your audience and let them sort of start to be the judge of their own future as authors.
I love that. So that will be in the comments below when we publish this. So that's probably a really good idea, actually. So I appreciate that. Aside from that, then, okay, as we wrap up, how else would you prefer to be contacted if anybody wants to reach out to you?
Fantastic. Please just come to my website. So my website is my name, kathwalters.com.au. So I'm an Australian, as you probably gathered by the accent. www.kathwalters.com.au. There you will find the mini diagnostic, and you'll also find multiple ways to get in touch. The very first thing that I do with people is to have what I call a hello call. And really that's for me to listen to where somebody is at in their business and their book ideas, and to make sure that I could really be of use to them, be helpful to them.
Love it. I think that's a lovely, organic, natural, humane way to go about this. I'm sure you'll get plenty of people going through the quiz and having a hello conversation at the very least with you.
Fantastic. I love that.
Brilliant. Okay, well, listen, thanks a lot for your time. I hope you enjoy your marshmallows later. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks so much for the opportunity.
You're most welcome, Kath. Thank you for watching this episode. I hope that you did enjoy it, had lots of takeaways from it. As before, please subscribe below so you can keep on top of any new releases we have. And also, if you would like to have your story told, just reach out with me and I'd love to give you that platform. My best email address is tom@purplepatchconsulting.com. Thank you.